name's Eve Doherty and I'm an editor. I decided I wanted to edit when I was about 17 years old. I'd studied media studies in school and then decided that that's what the path I wanted to follow. So I went to college and I did a BTEC, and we used to make our own films, and it was the editing side of it that I decided I enjoyed the most. So Game of Thrones was my first big television series. I'd actually worked predominantly on feature films before that. I'd done a couple of little TV shows, but nothing of the scale of that production. I got an email from the editor who I'd met a couple of times socially and just saying, do you want to come and do this little job in Ireland for a couple of months? And I was like, the hugest job for quite, it's like a year in total. But it was a fantastic experience, and it's such a tight ship, and there's a real large post department, and each editor, like on film, gets their own assistant, so they can work collaboratively with one person. Whereas in television in the UK, quite often it's one assistant per, 3 editors. It was amazing to see something of that scale, and the volume of rushes that you get every day. Yeah, we had a dailies department with us in the post house in Belfast, and then they would deliver sync and graded rushes to us. We had a colourist with us as well. And then the assistant's job on that production was to make sure that when the rushes were in, everything was there, to kind of make it all digestible for the editor, so put it into scene bins, sometimes to assemble if it's a large scene, just to help break down the workload for the editor. But mainly the job on that, I was an assistant for Katie Wayland, and she works very collaboratively with her assistant. It's really important that sound plays a major role in helping to realise if that's going to work, even in its temp phase. So the assistant's jobs are actually sound design and temp VFX, and then we'd ship that out to our post facilities that were working all over the world for that one. So yeah, there's a lot of people. There was an assistant per editor, and then we also have trainees, then we also have 2 people in the dailies department and a colourist, and all working with Avid software. On every professional production I've ever worked on, it's been an Avid system with a shared storage unit. It's really important that there's instant access for everybody, because it's such a fast turnaround with so much of this work. I was an assistant for 10 years, and the transition for everyone I've heard is completely different. I think it's so much to do with being in the right place at the right time. My first job as editor was someone that I'd worked with for the past decade. We'd come up through the ranks together, is now producing, and we were just at a lunch together, and I mentioned that I was trying to make the leap, and it's just being on someone's consciousness when they have to put a name forward for that role. Just being there and being like, oh hey, do you remember me? Then they'll go, oh yeah, Eve wants to edit. Maybe we could take her onto this job. And so I got a pilot. And the pilot was then commissioned, and they were kind enough to then give me an episode of the first series once it was commissioned. On every single job I've ever worked on, I've learned a new thing about the Avid, and everyone's got these little pointers and things that I just like, I just didn't know you could do that, and that would have saved me 4 hours on the last job or whatever. So you're constantly learning. I think for anyone that wants to edit, then the most important thing you should be doing is just editing all the time. I guess the way to get in is to be open to people that you meet. Always be nice, because it's such a small department, and you're working really closely with people, and you're spending sometimes more time with those people than you do with the people outside of the industry that you love. So, be someone that people want to work with. Be grateful, be gracious, be super organised. Be open to the fact that you're going to be working with people that have earned a lot of stress. You're going to be working with egos sometimes. You need to be very patient. It's a long process, but it's just being available to take on the opportunities when they come to you. I'd lost out on some opportunities earlier on because I was actually afraid to just take the chance, but everyone had to do it. Everyone had to take that chance. And people are going to recognise where you are because they were there too and try and help you out. So, yeah, just be around and, stick your hand up and hope for the best.